Episode 4: The Identity of the Self and the Absolute. In our previous reflection, we spoke about Brahman, the ultimate reality described in the Upanishads as truth, consciousness, and infinity. The sages suggested that beneath the endless diversity of the universe, there exists a single, unchanging foundation. Yet this insight leads us towards an even more profound question. What is the relationship between that ultimate reality and ourselves? Are we merely small and separate individuals moving through a vast universe that exists independently of us? Or is there a deeper connection between the consciousness that we experience within ourselves and the reality that sustains the entire cosmos? Advaita Vedanta approaches this question with remarkable boldness. The Upanishads repeatedly suggest that the deepest essence of the individual self is not separate from Brahman. The truth that we seek in the universe may, in fact, be the very essence of our own being. One of the most famous declarations in the entire tradition appears in the Chandogya Upanishad, where the sage Uddalaka instructs his son Shvetaketu. After guiding him through a series of reflections about the nature of reality, the teacher concludes with a sentence that has echoed through centuries of philosophical thought. Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. This statement is known as one of the Mahavakyas, the great declarations of the Upanishads. It suggests that the essence of the individual, the thou in this statement, is identical with the ultimate reality that pervades the universe. At first hearing, such a claim may appear astonishing. Human beings generally perceive themselves as limited individuals. Our bodies have clear boundaries. Our thoughts are private. Our experiences seem separate from those of others. The world appears filled with countless distinct objects and living beings. Yet the sages of the Upanishads asked a subtle question. Is this sense of separation truly fundamental, or does it arise from the way our senses interpret the world? To explore this question, Advaita Vedanta invites us to examine our own experience carefully.
Everything we encounter in life appears as an object of awareness. The body can be observed. Thoughts arise and pass within the mind. Emotions appear, remain for a time, and eventually dissolve. Even our perceptions of the external world are experiences that arise within consciousness. But what about the awareness itself? That awareness cannot be observed in the same way as other things because it is the very condition that makes observation possible. The Upanishads repeatedly point toward this witnessing presence within us. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the nature of the self is described in a manner that gradually dissolves all limited identities. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. This statement does not refer to the individual personality. It does not suggest that the ego or the mind becomes divine. Rather, it points towards something far deeper. The awareness through which we experience life is not a small and isolated phenomenon. It belongs to the very fabric of reality itself. Another of the great declarations of the Upanishads expresses this idea with extraordinary simplicity. In the Mandukya Upanishad, the nature of the self is described as pure consciousness that underlies every experience. The Upanishad refers to this reality simply as Atman, the innermost self, and it declares, I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahman. The implication of this statement is profound. It suggests that the deepest essence of the individual and the deepest essence of the universe are not two different realities. Advaita Vedanta therefore proposes a radical shift in perspective. Instead of viewing ourselves as isolated individuals existing within a vast universe, it invites us to consider the possibility that consciousness itself is the underlying reality of everything. The sense of separation that we experience may arise from the limitations of perception rather than from the nature of reality itself. The Upanishads describe this insight with another remarkable declaration: Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this indeed is Brahman. The entire universe, with all its diversity and complexity, arises within a single, indivisible reality. Yet, Advaita Vedanta does not present this idea as a belief system. It is not something that must be accepted on authority. Instead, it is something that must be explored through careful inquiry and contemplation. The sages understood that such an insight cannot be grasped merely through intellectual discussion. It requires a gradual refinement of understanding. The Katha Upanishad describes this inner awakening with a beautiful image. Uttistata jagrata, prapya varan nibodhata. Arise, awake, approach the wise and understand. These words remind us that the journey of knowledge is not merely theoretical. It is a transformation in the way we perceive ourselves and the world. When the sages declared Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, they were pointing toward a truth that cannot be fully captured by language. It is something that must be discovered within one's own awareness. Advaita Vedanta therefore invites us to look carefully at the nature of the self. Beneath the layers of identity, beneath the shifting movements of thought and emotion, there remains a silent, witnessing presence. The Upanishads suggest that this presence is not separate from the ultimate reality of the universe. And if this is true, then the search for truth may not require us to travel anywhere at all. It may simply require us to understand the nature of the consciousness through which we experience existence. In the next reflection, we will explore a question that naturally arises from this insight. If reality is fundamentally one, why does the world appear divided into countless forms? The sages of Advaita Vedanta addressed this mystery through a concept known as Maya, the power through which the one appears as many. It is a subtle idea and one that has fascinated philosophers for centuries.